Hey, I'll hop in and say hello to everybody, especially if this is your first time. Welcome. You're joining right as season 0 is kicking off, so a lot of exciting things we're about to talk on. It just from a mission statement standpoint, like we exist to accelerate the education and impact of a new wave of Web3 builders. That's kind of what got us started, what got us all here. So, if you're interested learning about Web3 development, whether you know it or not already, this is an awesome community to be a part of. We really believe that. And so values, transparency, diversity, inclusion, responsibility, like Kemp said, check out that post, go and check those out. But it's just something we want to reflect on kind of, every couple weeks while we do this. But yeah, welcome everybody.
Yeah, welcome. It's an exciting time to join, as Will said. There's going to be some super interesting stuff that we're going through today, and exciting to see the reaction to all of it as well. So we often kick off with just kind of updating where we're at from a sort of growth point of view for the week. So it's been pretty wild. Nader, I think you've been sort of bringing a lot of people into the server over the week.
Yeah.
But were you doing giveaways or what were you doing?
Over the last... So when we first kicked this off, we had a handful of people kind of leaning in and, setting up all of the infrastructure and all of the processes and all the stuff that we kind of needed to get this thing going. And we kind of have had weeks where we've grown and we've had weeks where we grew faster and things like that. But yeah, this last week has been kind of wild. And I think that since we're getting to the point where we're almost out of tokens, people are maybe starting to get a little bit more excited to be able to kind of get in and participate. I think someone's off of mute. Anyway, so yeah, over the last week, a lot of people have reached out to me. A lot of people are unable to spend the gas. So I kind of set aside $6,000 actually a few days ago, and I just started minting tokens and giving them away to people that couldn't, pay the gas. So that's kind of part of what's happened. So when you give someone like a membership, they get excited about it, they tweet about it. And I think that just led to organic growth that ended up happening because of that. And I'm I have other ideas and plans around making this community more accessible for kind of people that can't afford to get in, because to me, the biggest, I wouldn't say it's a problem. It kind of is a problem, I would say. But the biggest challenge for creating a community like this is that you want to have Sybil resistance, because you don't want to just make it to where anyone can mint a token for free, because then you're going to basically have someone just go and mint like all 8,000, and then you're like don't really have a community and no one really owns anything. But you also don't want that barrier to entry to be too high, because if the Ethereum gas like it is today is $100 or even more sometimes to mint a token, of course, sometimes it's a lot less. Like when we started this thing, it was I think in the range of like $20 to $50 maybe. Then it makes it hard for people to do that. So the balance for me is just taking money and giving it away right now for now. Of course, later we're going to have more resources, like a lot more resources to deal with this type of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of my my thoughts there. And I just want to throw this out there that I may be having to jump off a little early from the call today. So the rest of the folks will still be here and the mods and stuff.
Yeah, that's dope. It's great. Thanks for doing that this week, Nader. I think there's a lot of people that have been able to join the community who otherwise might have struggled to do so. So I think that's excellent. And as Nader says, as we move forward and move towards launching a governance token, then we can figure out different ways to make it more inclusive. And hopefully we will get to that soon as well. But in numbers, right now, in terms of total Genesis tokens minted, we're at 6,574, which is absolutely bananas, I think, in 2 months. And in terms of individual hodlers, we are at 4,406, which I think is equally bananas and amazing to see over the last kind of just over 2 months that we've been doing this. In terms of who's joined Discord, we are now up to 3,041. again, pretty wild. It's really great to see that growth. I think it's kind of knocked on to maybe super high engagement in the server, but I think most of it's been excellent. So yeah, it's really exciting to see. And then kind of just lastly, Nader shared an update a day or two ago about the kind of engagement that we're getting online and the kind of reach that we're seeing. So there's a link to that update there. But the network effects of this community already is pretty mind-blowing. I know that certain individuals have really benefited from that already in terms of being able to elevate their work and elevate their content. And beyond everything else that we want to do, just us being together in this community and being able to help each other and help each other sort of elevate their work and elevate their projects is going to be something that's sort of really powerful over on into the future. So that's kind of the basic updates done. The big one this week, I haven't seen it. Will, what's the latest on the snapshot proposal? It's got to be closed now, right?
Yep, it is closed, but we just hit 600 votes exactly. So somebody can post that, or I can do it in the chat here. Looks like somebody's going to throw that out there. But yeah, we hit 600 votes in our proposal for season 0, which is just amazing and awesome. And 99.67% approval rate. I think a lot of that, of course, is due to the fact that we had all the communication beforehand. We had Discord communication, we had forum communication, and then once again, if you're new, this is just the beginning. We're going to keep having a lot of these conversations and build from here.
Yeah. What percentage of that is the total membership? It's about about 15, 20%, 4,000 or something. Yeah, to put that into perspective for everyone, I think, Nader, you might have some better stats on this, but engagement-wise in proposal votes and governance voting in DAOs is generally a fair bit lower than that in the single percentile.
Yeah,
so,
I think I read somewhere it's in the 1 to 2% range. Definitely probably, average in the 1 to 5% range. So we're well above that. But from what I read, a stat was 1 to 2%. But I didn't go and research that to confirm that, but that is something I did read.
Awesome. So yeah, for me personally, it's really exciting to see that. Season 0 is focused about laying foundations. For anyone who's not seen it, the plan for the next 2 or potentially 3 months, depending on how quickly we can get things, the objectives in there done, is to kind of set us up for the future. And the way things are moving and the rate at which we're growing and the interest that's coming into our community, I think the next couple of months are going to be super exciting, and it's certainly really humbling to see the kind of interest and engagement and desire to want to contribute. So thanks for everyone that's joined. Thanks for everyone that's contributed and voted. It's really awesome, awesome to see. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to say before we move on to maybe talk about the guild structures and so on in more detail.
Hey, we have a couple requests. I was going to say, when should we take questions, things like that? We of course have to use this stage just because there's 250 people in here, but we want to be engaging.
I would say we wait till the end because we have quite a bit of stuff to cover. And yeah, but I think we should figure out a process for doing that. We definitely want to have other people participate and stuff, but we need to figure out, is it the best way to kind of have a voice chat during this, or maybe we can then take a separate, or we can just wrap up after an hour and then we can take questions after that for people that just want to listen to the announcements and stuff, or we could consider taking them in the thread, But yeah, we need to figure that out and have a real process. But for now, I'd say we wait until the end. Okay, cool. So for those who haven't seen, the main changes around Season 0 is the introduction of guilds, excuse me, as well as a core team who is mostly who you see up here now, who certainly to begin with will take on some responsibility for setting up those guilds and
and also working hard on a lot of operational things behind the scenes, as well as putting in place some of the infrastructure that we need to get moving. And then also looking at how we can fund the treasury and manage the multi-sig. All of this is done in this way so we can move forward, and we will discuss how we manage everything as a community during season 0, but it gives us a mandate and a platform to be able to get stuff done and move the community forward. So from the introduction of guilds' points of view, to us, guilds are the most important part of Developer DAO, and they represent the people in the community and kind of the resources that the DAO has, which is talented people with shared interest or shared skills. The guilds that are being launched are community design, developer, writers, governance, and marketing biz dev. I think, Will, did we get there on setting up the ability for people to join guilds post this meeting?
Yep. It's not live yet, but it's just ready to turn on. So, yep.
Okay, cool. So we'll turn that on after the meeting. I think the first step is indicate the guilds that you want to join. You can join multiple if you want. And then over the next sort of week or so, because we're moving the town halls to bi-weekly meetings, we're kind of giving those guilds some space to begin organising a little bit. How that's going to work is not a totally solved problem. The guilds are free to organise largely how they want to. But if you could indicate after this meeting which guilds you're interested in joining, that would be excellent. And then over the next week or so, as I say, the people that have been given some initial responsibility to help get those guilds going will push out updates to those roles that are attached to the guilds that you join. And we can start engaging people around some of the goals and challenges that we want to address in each of those groups, or want to tackle in each of those groups through the next sort of 2 to 3 months into season 0. But yeah, it's really exciting, and it will hopefully also help us make the server a little bit more manageable, a little bit less noisy. Where it makes sense to, we will pull existing channels into the guilds if it's something that ultimately is just the responsibility of that guild. So, for example, newsletter will probably go into Writers Guild and things like this. And by allocating yourself or showing interest in going to join one of those guilds, that will also help manage the channels that you see as well. There'll be some open public channels in the guilds, but most of them will be private to people who have chosen to join that guild. And that's not to hide anything from anyone. It's just to try and make the server more manageable for everyone that's in here, from a kind of like a noise point of view and notification point of view. So I think it's good if we give kind of an introduction, each person, in terms of the guilds that are setting up. So Nader, I know you're short on time. Are you sort of comfortable going first around the MBD guild?
Yeah, totally. Do you want to kind of give an intro to, like, you know, what that guild is focused on doing, and then I'll kind of talk about some ideas that I have there?
Yeah, totally. So the goals that we've set up for that guild and the goals that we've set up for all the guilds were to give them some initial focus, but those will probably evolve as the guilds form and the season 0 sort of really kicks off in earnest. I will post them into, the developer's voice text now, so those who are just listening can see. But for the marketing biz dev guild, it's mainly about figuring how we handle marketing output across all of our social media channels, other DAOs that we're looking to seek and establish partnerships with, and the launch event that we're aiming to get out probably at the start of season 0 with some partners. So hopefully that gives you a good enough setup, Nader. Yeah,
totally. So, you know, we're just now getting all this organizational structure, but essentially it's kind of what I've been doing, I would say. You know, now that we're to the point where we're starting to get established and people are starting to know about us, I think it's really important that we strategically continue to consider and think about the relationships that we're kind of building. So the thing that makes the most sense to me is compounding our network effects. And this means collaborating with other people, you know, other DAOs, other projects, other protocols that also have their own network effects, and finding ways where we can both benefit from this relationship or from some type of collaboration. So for instance, a really good example of this is the Gitcoin collaboration that we have, that we're still, that we've pretty much, we have finalized, but we just now need to kind of go through that process to kind of get those funds into our treasury and kind of move forward with that. But Gitcoin is, was built to kind of be accomplishing a lot of the same goals that we're trying to accomplish. So that relationship makes so much sense. They also have a big network, and they have people that have been in Web3 for years, and it just really worked really well. So I think I'm looking for more of those types of relationships. I'm also looking for people that understand the DAO landscape, people that have connections with other people that might be able to help us, because there's questions that we don't know the answers to. And if we can lean on someone that can help us out with that, then it just makes sense for us to kind of build those relationships. And I can kind of talk about a few of the things that we have in the pipeline, just to kind of be completely transparent about some of the things that we're doing. So one of the big things that I'm excited about is that I met with Cooper Turley, who is Koopa Troopa on Twitter. He's also very involved in the DAO landscape. He helps create Friends with Benefits. He's part of Audius. He's part of dozens of DAOs. Yeah, he's going to actually join Developer DAO as an advisor. So that became official last weekend, or I think it was this week when I was in Lisbon. So I was in Lisbon, and I was there for the Solana conference. I met so many people, and a lot of the people there are really excited about what we're doing, and they've heard of us. So I'm talking about like really, well-known people in the Solana ecosystem all the way up. We're being followed by the founders of Solana, and a lot of people definitely know who we are. So yeah, so that's one thing I'm excited about. So part of that relationship will essentially be something like, he is an advisor for us. He helps us answer questions. He helps us get connections. And in exchange, we give him some type of payment or token allocation. So probably it will be something like a token allocation, I would say. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is, we figure out what that looks like. And I don't know those exact details, but we'll figure those out. I think that the relationship with him and the people that he knows will benefit everyone here way more than we could ever actually, think of as far as that token, whatever that future token allocation might look like. Another relationship that I'm looking into that has not been, confirmed or solidified yet or anything, but I'm meeting with her this week, or I'm sorry, for next week, is Preeti, and I think her last name is I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, I think something like Casadori or Casaderi. So Preeti is a very well-known person that's in the blockchain space. Let me go ahead and paste her Twitter here. She actually is teaching a boot camp right now. She has some really great threads around, blockchain development. She has very good connections within the ecosystem. She also brings an element of diversity to the leadership team. And I really think it would be a relationship that would make a lot of sense for her to also come on in as advisor. I've asked her; she seems really interested and excited about it, and we're meeting about it next week. So I'm excited about both of those relationships. We've been talking to Build Space in the DMs today a little bit, and I think that makes a lot of sense too. I'm really big fan of Build Space. They have something special. Like, there's so many people that have created, learning platforms for Web3, but I feel like the execution by Build Space is really great, because I've never seen so many people excited about that. So I have no idea where that will lead, but I think some relationship like what we did with Gitcoin makes a lot of sense. And I'm just being straight up, very transparent about all this stuff, because this is all still happening, right? Like, none of this stuff has been confirmed, but it seems like it would be a good thing. So those sorts of things are what I'm going to be focused on doing, building out these relationships with people that make a lot of sense, and also managing the Twitter account. So the Twitter account is, we're essentially also becoming a publishing platform or a clearinghouse of Web3 information. There isn't really a place that I know of that you can follow that shares the type of content that we've been sharing. So our Twitter engagement is just through the roof. I mean, I have 8 times more followers, but I have more engagement on the Developer DAO Twitter account than I do on my own personal account. So people really like that. Yeah, I'm behind the Twitter account for the most part, yeah. So, yeah, all that stuff is going. I'm pretty excited about all of those things, you know. So, whenever we solidify any of these relationships, of course, Coupa is actually already confirmed. I would like to put together like announcement tweets and maybe even blog posts or stuff. But I think I might wait to announce our relationship with Coupa and maybe with Preeti if we can iron that out all together, so we can have like one big announcement, which will be pretty cool. And we might also wait until we kind of like finish our token sales to do some other announcement. I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of my updates.
Love it. That's so much excitement in there. It's crazy. Really, really interesting stuff happening. Nader, just one more thing in terms of people joining the Marketing and Biz Dev Guild. What interests sort of suit well for people that want to join?
I would say people that are really good at communicating and that, you know, are just people that enjoy like talking to other people and building relationships and stuff. So like if you're really good at like shit posting or tweeting or creating memes or some shit, like that's probably believe it or not, a good quality to have.
We could do some because of the launch event as well. And I imagine anyone that's got experience helping get online events going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, events is a big thing that we are going to be definitely focusing on after that. Now that we've like announced this, and also now that we have some money coming into the treasury and stuff. So yeah, that's a really good call out. Definitely someone that knows how to put on like a virtual event. So yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, super exciting stuff. We could give a little bit more context on the Gitcoin partnership, seen as it was brought up. So for those who don't know, we're seeking a partnership, or we're in process of a sort of finalizing a partnership with Gitcoin. Now, that is going to look like a token swap. So Gitcoin are going to allocate a set number of tokens into our treasury in return for a future looking like 5% allocation from our token issue to them. This will all have to go through our governance and their governance, so everyone will get a chance to feed into this and input and vote. But the great thing about that is it gives us the funding to be able to really stand up operations and hopefully retain some people to be able to focus on making the DAO become what it can become. Nader's had really good relationships with Scott at Gitcoin. I think he knows Awaki as well, and that's kind of how this got going. And then we've been introduced to Ryan, who's Moonshot coordinator in our server and in their server. And Ryan is responsible for running their Moonshot collective work streams. So he's going to be working very closely with us over the next few weeks and also their governance or governance stewards within the Gitcoin organization to bring this partnership forward to a point where we know that it will pass their governance and our governance as well. So we'll be sharing more about this in the coming weeks. But it's really exciting. There's loads of really well-aligned goals and ambitions between the two organizations. Just for a high level on timescale, I think Manny asked this last week. We want to get it done quickly, but we also don't want to rush it. So the timescale that we're looking at the moment is about 6 weeks to make sure that we can get it to a position where it has the best chance of passing governance on both sides. On Gitcoin's side, Scott and Ryan and I think Awaki as well are going to make sure that they're involved, so it has the best chance of passing their governance as well. But really, really exciting, and obviously Cooper and potentially Preeti coming in. Like, I think these are sort of leveraged partnerships that will help us really grow and sort of deliver on what we want to do much faster as well, which is awesome. So I don't know if maybe Will, do you want to go next on the Governance Guild and give a quick intro into kind of what falls within that and maybe what you're going to be doing in season 0 and maybe what interests and skills suit the people that want to join?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, like, governance is such a key role in a DAO, and so like the way I think we all view this is like everybody's going to be involved with governance. And then if you're interested in like taking part in helping us put the framework together, helping us think about the tooling around that, so things such as snapshot, thinking through strategies and how voting power is delegated, all those type of things, then joining the governance guild is probably right for you. So I know we have like a tokenomics DAO project that is it's been a really good discussion thread, and so if you've been somebody on there, we're like the governance guild will probably take on that project, and so like I said, the governance guild is one of those where kind of everybody's involved with it, because at the end of the day, everybody needs to be voting in proposals and be putting forward just different suggestions and whatnot, and so that's the plan. So I see Greg is telling me I'm quiet. I'm not going to be able to fix that right now, so hopefully you can hear me. But anyways, please, join the governance guild if you're interested. As far as our goals for season 0, it is all about setting up and managing tooling around the governance process, documentation, and making sure that we can governance is available and accessible for everybody, and then really working on the process pieces. So delegation, thinking through like levels of consensus, just a lot of the complication. I saw there was a good comment, can't remember who it was, like how do we manage the treasury, like that type of stuff can kind of first start being kicked around in the governance guild and then proposed out to the community as a whole. So anybody can join the governance guild. I think we are a very accessible DAO in that we've got like all parts of the spectrum on here, people that have been in Web3 for 3 years, and people who this is their first involvement with Web3. So join, learn about the future of how organizational governance is going to work. So if I missed anything, feel free to add it.
How about the DAO stack? Well, tooling for governance.
Yeah. So like that, just as we think about that, it's really something I want to take into season 0. So of course we've got, we've got Discord for discussion. We've got our forum for more kind of formalized, longer form discussion. We've got Snapshot. And then beyond that, you have on-chain governance. And so all of that type of stack, all of those stack questions really want to take into season 0 and have a bunch of people, some that have much more experience with me, dive into this and start thinking about it.
Awesome. I know we have a feeling we want to move quickly, but there's obviously some care and consideration with that tooling as well. So it'd be really interesting to see what comes out of the governance guild during season 0, because it's going to play such a fundamental role in kind of how the community operates moving forward. That's super exciting. So next up, with Heart, are you ready?
Yeah, I am super ready. Hi everybody, I am with Heart. Just wanted to start by just giving a couple details about myself, just so everyone that joins the Developer Guild knows who I am and who they're dealing with. I'm a software engineer from Cincinnati. I've been a dev for about 6 years. Before that, I drove a truck and filled vending machines for 10 years. So I kind of have a pretty diverse background of experience of what I've done. I've worked at enterprise company, I've worked at a medium-sized company, I've worked at a startup, a couple different places, so I have a lot of experience all over the place. To me, the most important experience, though, is that I have been a maintainer for the Chakra UI project for the last 2 years, so I have a lot of experience working in open source and building an open source community. So thinking about the developer DAO, I'm starting with a couple just basic principles about how I'm thinking about this. The first is that open source is, to me, the basis for dynamic communication and collaboration as a group. On top of that, the best way for us to level up as a collective is for us to level up together as individuals. And the best way for us to level up together as individuals is to teach and learn from each other. And I think the best way to do that is to just get to know each other and build cool shit together. So moving from those principles, I think we have a lot of things to figure out as a group. This is probably going to be our largest guild, so I'm expecting there to be a lot of chaos, as there has been with the DAO. But we can work through that as we work together and get to know each other and collaborate. We can kind of figure these things out, like what are the best ways for us to collaborate? What are the best ways for us to organize ourselves into groups? Best ways to organize our projects? Best ways to share knowledge? So a lot of things to figure out. And some of the things I've been thinking about that I think will help us do that are organizing talks and learning sessions where we can teach each other different concepts related to development, related to Web3, open source, basic skills as developers. And also, personally, I want to teach people how to teach. So how to put together a good talk, how to, teach other people concepts, things like that. So I think that's a good basis for us as a guild. Also like to get into some open source education. What is open source? What does that even mean? What does it mean to create a good issue on a GitHub project? What does it mean to create a good detailed pull request? What does it mean to perform an effective code review and really share a lot of context with each other? And also, like, what are the different roles in open source, and what does each role do, and what are their responsibilities? So, as we build ourselves out as an open source organization, I think it's important that we also learn about open source and understand what that means. And I think that will help us, build our own organization as an open source org, but also allow all of us to start to connect more with other organizations and other projects to be able to contribute to them and give back to some of these projects that we use so often to build our own software. And then the last idea that I think is probably most important is to organize a developer guild hackathon, where we can connect members of different backgrounds and interests and skill levels together to build cool shit together in small teams. I think that's a really good opportunity for members to be able to find a place to start to engage and participate with the DAO in a meaningful way, and to get to know other members of the DAO. And it also creates a good opportunity for us to publish our own open source software and to maybe identify some potential official DAO projects that we can take from just a hackathon project to something where we're working with other guilds like the Marketing and Biz Dev Guild or the Design Guild to really polish these things and make them very official that we can then support officially as a DAO and really push out to the world. So these are just some of the ideas I'm starting with. I think that there's a lot of opportunity. Again, there's going to be a lot of chaos because there's going to be so many members of this guild. So it's very open. If you have ideas for things for us to do or ways for us to, hang out and get to know each other and work together on things, please be very open and become engaged with the guild. I think that's really how we're going to find success, and as a DAO and as individuals. That's all I got.
I was just going to mention too, and we might already mention this, but a lot of the technical channels and some of the hackathon channels aren't necessarily going to be locked up inside the developers guild, right? So even if maybe I want to focus on the governance guild, I can still participate in some of those other items without joining the development guild. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's something we'll have to kind of figure out. Again, most of the people here are joining because they are developers or want to become developers. So I think that the channel structure is going to be kind of fluid at the start. But yeah, we definitely want to make things as open as possible to non-guild members, while still giving us some safe spaces that are more private for people who are in the guild.
Yeah, and I think we want the server and we want the community to kind of follow maybe the level of engagement or level of time or level of interest and contribution that people themselves can or want to do. So primarily the benefits of this community so far has been about learning and supporting each other. So we kind of want the structure and the flow that people move through engaging and contributing in the organization to kind of follow that structure. So there will always be these places that exist currently for learning and technical discussion, and then we will build on top of those to try and for people that do want to be more involved and contribute more, to allow them to kind of take those steps towards contributing more, whilst making sure that those original places that people have really drawn value from already kind of exist as we go. So I may as well jump into the community guild, because I think were you finished with that? Is that all good?
Yep, that covered everything I had to say.
Dope. So yeah, I thought I may as well jump into the community guild, because there was some crossover there as well. So community is really important to develop a DAO. We said at the beginning about the vibe in here has been amazing. Crypto is not always that way. I saw a comment just yesterday from someone about how positive the environment is, and we really want to keep it that way. And we want to make sure that for existing people that are in the community and new people that are going to join the community, that when they show up, that vibe and that experience remains really, really positive, and we can support those people to be able to onboard into the community and kind of find their path and find their level of contribution. So I think probably early on in the community guild, we're going to be tackling that, which is both the external and internal onboarding within the community. And we've got it's really important to us that we make this inclusive, and we've already kicked off some of these initiatives. We had a meeting yesterday about onboarding and inclusivity, when there was some really, really interesting ideas raised, some action items from that as well. Michelle, for example, has kindly agreed to take up building in a sort of a feedback system for people in the community. Josh Stein, who's scribing for the meeting and that meeting yesterday, brought up a good point about where do our rules come from. So we'll be looking at reviewing those as well. But I think that the overall purpose for the community guild during season 0 is making sure that our community is as positive, is as inclusive, is as welcoming as possible, and providing paths for people that are easy to follow, for them to be able to find how they want to engage and find how they want to contribute. It's very easy to come in and get lost, and we appreciate that, and we think we've been pretty lucky with the engagement from people in the community over the last kind of month or so, which has maybe negated that challenge a little bit, considering there is a lot going on, but we want to make sure that we can improve that, so everyone feels like they're in a space that's positive and welcoming, and they can get sort of maximum return from being part of the community and contributing to it as well. So for anyone that's got an interest in community building, community engagement, inclusivity, some of the operational sides of setting up a community like this, and maybe potentially internal social events as well, like, we need as much input as we can into that system. So by all means, come and join and help us figure out how we can kind of make this space better for everyone that joins, both now and long on into the future as well. But it's really, really exciting, and looking forward to start actioning some of the stuff that's already been discussed around onboarding and inclusivity, and whatever else the guild can come up with to try and improve the experience that we all have here over sort of now and into the future as well. I think Nader, did you need to jump out, or are you still okay for a bit longer?
Yeah, I'm going to stick around. I actually canceled my other meeting. This is more important, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, one thing though, like, I wanted to throw out there is that we are growing, and we don't want to grow to the point where everything becomes chaos. At some point we do have to kind of like figure a way out to make this scale. Like, we want to scale the things that we're doing. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to scale the number of people within this server today, like that we have. We want to be very very careful about making this thing actually continue to work. And a lot of the work they're already doing around guilds is going to help that a lot, because once we have that organizational structure, you can kind of like decide where you want to hang out. But another thing I did want to throw out there is this idea that someone threw out there not too long ago around turning part of the some of the projects that we're kind of fostering within the community into kind of like an accelerator program. To me, makes more and more sense the more I think about it. A DAO of DAOs, you could think of it as that. And I think that we're going to hopefully try to work towards that. And that will also help, I think, as the projects that we're working on within the DAO here start growing to something significant. Then we basically, the idea would be to kind of allocate, X number of thousands of dollars so that person can like quit their job and work full time on that thing. And then possibly that could be its own Discord or its own DAO. And the people that want to kind of work on that project have their own community to work on. And we can help pay for them to do that. And in exchange, we might do something like what we're doing with Gitcoin, where, they are going to end up having their own governance token, or maybe their own, whatever type of token. Then we'll, in exchange for like 50K or something, they will just say, okay, when we launch this thing, then we're going to give like 5 or 10% to the developer DAO, and then we can take some of those tokens, keep them in our treasury, and also consider distributing those to the existing token holders. So, we're not going to be able to turn into a DAO where we kind of create 10,000 companies within this Discord. That would just grow to be too much. But the idea of kind of spinning off other DAOs makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, the prospect of that's really exciting. I think as we sort of nail how we operate as a group and how we keep everyone engaged during season 0 and kind of what the bigger picture looks like a journey towards that, being able to do that for people within the community that are coming up with like really awesome and really interesting ideas for projects, like the sort of the scope and potential of that is super exciting. We've got design next. If Eric's ready, are you ready?
Yeah. Hey guys. So I'm Noble. I am a UX designer, and we are in a unique position because we designers need to be involved in projects, and we need to be able to do our own stuff. So that's the way the guild is going to work is going to be defined by all the designers that we can find, because we still don't know how many designers we have in the DAO. So please all step forward. And there are a few issues that we have to solve from the start, defining the branding of the DAO, because there are plenty of other projects that need to have that issue defined, like the website, for example. We need people who want to learn or know how to use Figma, Illustrator, or any other design tools, and we need people also who can help with the UX research of some of the projects that we are doing. So initial task for season 0 can be we have to define the branding of the DAO. We can try to do this in a hackathon. We need to start exploring the possibility of selling merch. That's a cool thing to do. And we can start building the user research and user interface design for all the projects in the DAO. We need help in all of these projects, and as well as in all the design requirements in all the projects. And we need people who can take the lead in all of these jobs. So feel free to join if you are interested. Yeah.
Hey, Eric. So I was going to ask, you've done some design work around season 0, and I know the PO app today. I've got that. I can share that if you want me to, but I didn't know if you wanted to talk at all about that.
Yeah, we were working in to design the POAPs with in collaboration with Will, and we have done all the design for that. We need help. We need people to help with that as well. And we have several projects like the pixel avatars that is going to continue. We also need help with that project, and there are talks about making NFTs for example for completing the seniority as in the onboarding part. It may be needed to do something like that. So there is plenty of work to, and well, if you can help us with that, it would be awesome.
Yeah, I just shared that POAP. Take a look at that design, and yeah, it looks so epic. It looks so awesome.
Yeah, I love that. It's great. And Eric and Will have also been working on sort of POAPs throughout season 0 for kind of acknowledging people's attendance and rewarding people for engaging with the community whilst we figure out our plans for our ERC20 token. But some of the stuff that's already come out that Eric's done is amazing. The branding piece as well is critical, I think, for the community. There's loads of scope in there to get really vibesy, maybe quite punky. Eric, I think you've got an interesting kind of embracing that vibe as well, right?
Yeah, the punk vibe is really extending all across crypto, and I think we can try to do that. And Nader's initial poll was very revolutionary, so I think we can use that as the basics for the design in the DAO.
Awesome. So yeah, anyone that's got design skills or interested in helping sort of establish that brand, like the design team is where to be. It's probably worth giving a little bit of context as well in terms of whilst we have guilds, some projects will sit specifically within guilds. So something like the brand design assets and guidelines largely is a design guild problem, but other projects will draw resources from the guilds. So Eric was mentioning about design being quite important across the spectrum of projects that we work on. So if you're joining design, it's not like you can't go and then design on projects that are maybe originally sort of spun out of another area. The guilds are a way of organizing people with shared sets of skills, and then projects will draw on the resources or the people and contributors within those guilds to be able to get projects off the ground. So really exciting to see what comes out brand-wise during season 0. It's going to be interesting to see what's produced. So we have Mark for the Writers Guild, if you're ready.
Yeah, let's do it. So the first thing I want to call out is that you may have seen Editorial Guild or Writers/Editorial Guild. We were kicking around those names in the early days. Writers Guild just rolls off the tongue a little bit nicer, so we're rolling with Writers Guild. That said, we've got some sort of one of my favorite things about this community so far is its willingness to learn in public, and we have this amazing stream of content being created by people freshly learning some topic and wanting to share that with the world. And I think we're doing a pretty awesome job so far with like Nader in particular has been pumping all that content out on our Twitter account, getting lots of eyes on all that great work.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick too, because
Please
I think
do.
that's something that maybe not a lot of people are participating in. But yeah, we have this Boost Your Content channel, and if you've ever written a blog post, it doesn't have to be today, but even if you've created something that you're proud of or that you think other people might be able to learn from in the last year or two, as long as it's still up to date, share it in that channel, and we will share it on our Twitter handle. We'll tag you. A lot of the other DAO members will probably retweet you, and it's a great way to kind of get eyeballs on your content. And I created another channel that we haven't really been using so much yet. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see here. We have so many channels now, but it's basically a channel for people to creator spotlight. Okay, it looks like yeah, we don't have any messages there. But if you want to kind of highlight yourself and get people to know who you are, what you do, and just gain Twitter followers and increase your network, you can go into Creator Spotlight and like give your name, your Twitter handle, bio, that type of stuff, and we will share it on the Twitter. And a lot of times when we ask people to kind of follow other people from our Twitter account, they end up gaining like 20 to 100 followers. So it's pretty cool, and we're still early. So imagine like when we have twice or three times as many followers, you might be able to get like 500 followers down the road, right? So I think it's a great place for us to use the network effects that we have to kind of help other people grow their network. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, good shout out for sure. Take advantage of our network effects and keep producing that content. So at a high level, we know we want to share our learning. We know we want to put out tons of technical content. We know as a DAO, we are also going to be publishing sort of your standard variety of announcement style posts. But I also wanted to shout out that I think it's super valuable if we can tell our story along the way. One of our values is transparency, and I tried to model what I'm getting at here with a post I just published in the wee hours of the morning. Somebody just shared that link. Thanks for that, Avi. But I love the idea of having some soul in the publications that we have. So not just some boring updates, but I want to get our writers in this community to share their version of the story and what they're excited about, what they're working on, that kind of good stuff. So that's sort of an open invitation, like a seed I want to plant in your creative writing brains. So as far as next steps for the Writers Guild, I think I want to push a pragmatic approach out of the gate. So don't be mad, everyone, but we're going to start small and leverage some Web 2 tools at first. In the short term, the best way that we can provide value for everybody that's interested in writing is to exactly as we've been talking about, boost your content on our channels. So please continue to crank out that wonderful content on whatever your platform of choice is. We will do our best to make sure you get some eyes on it. That said, one of my big picture goals for the DAO is to own its own publishing platform, its own writing platform. And that is to say, something with Web3 capability that sort of exactly meets our needs. So I imagine a flow for this looking like it's a dApp that lives on like blog.developerdao.com. It lets you, it reads that you have one of the Developer DAO tokens, and that enables you to author posts on our platform. At that point, it goes into sort of a pipeline where editors, other DAO members, can review, leave feedback, and when it's ready, hit the publish button, and your work goes live on our site. And we can sort of dream up a bunch of other Web3 capable features within that platform. So that's big picture. It's not going to be done in the next couple months or anything, but one of the needs for the Writers Guild is to start sort of speccing out exactly what that would look like. I think there's a lot of wheels we don't need to reinvent. So potentially one member threw out the idea of taking a look at Ghost, which is an awesome open source platform, and seeing if we can customize it with some Web3 capabilities, that sort of thing. I think there's some research that needs to be done there. If you're interested in that, I definitely want to hear from you. Then, yeah, so we will own some projects in-house, so to speak, in the Writers Guild. The newsletter is a good example of that, and it's a good example of sort of starting small. We're going to get an update from the newsletter team in a bit in the projects section, and ideally they'll give you a quick idea of what that's about and potentially how to get involved. They're playing with some fun ideas using a bot, and they can tell you more about that. I think that's all I got for you at the moment.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, I think telling our story is going to be a really interesting and an exciting part for everything that we're doing. And I'm really excited to see what can come out of the Writers Guild, both in terms of content and platform. I think that's going to be really, really interesting sort of community within our community to see kind of what we can produce and share with the world sort of now and into the future through season 0 and beyond. From a sort of just a operational point of view on the guilds, Will, what do people need to do to sort of signify their interest in joining a guild after this meeting?
Yeah, so we're going to wait until the meeting's over just because it would get too crazy if we didn't. In the developers category, right below announcements, a new channel is going to appear called Guild Select. And in there, you're going to see a message with some reactions, emojis that you can react with and join guilds. So all you have to do is look at that message, and then it kind of describes, which emoji goes with each guild, and then you just click it. Once you do that, that's going to add the role to you that we've already created for these guilds, and it will also then display the channels for those guilds. So that's it. That's how you join a guild. One thing to mention is that, like, over the next kind of week or so, a lot of the structure will be put in place for this, and so like some new channels will have to exist. Some guilds already have like a lot of channels, just as a suggestion. And then we also will be like moving project channels around too. So all that being said, just be ready for, a few things to change. Right now, all of the guild channels, the categories are down at the bottom. So once you've added your role, scroll down and you should see your guild. 2 questions. 1, can we join more than one guild? Yes, you absolutely can. Just be thinking about, how am I best going to be able to contribute? What time do I actually have? And then the second piece, which goes along with that, is we will have public and private guild channels. Governance, I'll use that as an example. We have a discussion channel, a proposals channel, and a snapshot channel that will be public for everybody. So you do not have to join the governance guild to like have access to a place where you want to talk about governance. So maybe you care more about development, you don't really care as much about governance, but proposal gets posted and you want to have a place to talk about that proposal. You're going to have a channel for that even without joining the governance guild. And so all of our other guilds will eventually operate in a similar way, where like there's a place for you to go and look at community, or just say, hey, I'm not in the community guild, but I just had this idea. You don't have to go join the community guild. So just wanted to throw that out there. Don't have FOMO of like joining every guild, but at the same time, we're not like restricting anything. So Kemp, anything to add?
No, I think you got it pretty much perfect. Like there's been a lot of feedback from the community that the server is there's a lot going on, should we say. So whilst we are introducing more places, we're trying to use those places to organize conversation a little bit better. So you'll see, as Will said, you'll see certain projects that make sense move into those guild channels. And if that's something that's not particularly something you're massively interested in, then that's fine. Like the guild structure will give you a way to opt into interest in certain areas, whilst not affecting the kind of the value that the server's providing at the moment from a learning engagement point of view as well. So yeah, don't feel FOMO if you're really not that fussed on how governance works, or you're really not that fussed on writing, or you're really not that fussed about the community stuff, and you're just really interested in development, or vice versa of any of those things. Like, it's totally fine. You can use the role assignment for guilds to be able to customize a server at least a bit to kind of what it is that you actually care about and you find it interesting. And there is no expectation of contribution level for these guilds. In fact, we need to figure that out during season 0. So right now it's, if you're interested in these areas, come join. And then during season 0, we'll figure out what that looks like. And I think in most guilds, to begin with, that's probably going to be, what do we need to tackle during season 0 on top of the sort of baseline goals that were suggested in the season 0 proposal. So don't think by signing up you're committing to doing anything. Right now, we need input, and then we can figure out together, based on all the ideas and all the suggestions, kind of what those guilds tackle together, and maybe what roles form within those guilds as well. But yeah, right now, join where you're interested, and then we're going to figure out all of the details. But don't FOMO, and don't worry about committing yourself to anything. Like, we'll manage that over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and lastly, to leave a guild, it's as simple as clicking the emoji again. So, like, if you just want to even check out what does the developer guild look like, you can just go add that, click the emoji, look at it, and then click it again, and you're out of there. So, yeah, feel free to, like, click around.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the transparency bit really matters. The having private channels in guilds is not about hiding anything. It's about trying to manage the number of channels and categories that people need to deal with. So if you're interested, go take a look. If it's not for you, click that emoji again, and you can remove yourself from that guild and have all of that stuff disappear from your channel as well. But there's a lot of us here, so we need to find a way to organize, and this is kind of the first step towards that, in terms of helping people gather into spaces and areas with shared common goals and interests. What we're suggesting here is not set in stone. New guilds can form. The way that things are organized can and may well change now and into the future, but this gives us a nice jumping off point to be able to organize some people into areas where we know we need to start tackling some challenges, to kind of lay the foundations, as it were, for season 0, and then what that looks like towards the end of the season and into the future, like, could evolve and change. We've got a lot to kind of work out, but to me it all seems really exciting. I know everyone who's taken on some responsibility to kick off those guilds is really committed to helping them work. So yeah, excited to see what everyone in the community can help sort of produce and work out over the next sort of couple of months. So does anyone have anything else that they wanted to say about kind of season 0 and the kickoff of guilds before we move on? And I'm not sure.
I would love to send out like an announcement tweet. So if you want to just throw some ideas around how we can kind of announce this on Twitter, that would be really cool, and I can send it out. But I do actually have to jump on another call that I am now 10 minutes late with my boss. So definitely don't want to miss that one. So this has been amazing, and yeah, I'm gonna be keeping an eye on the chat while you all continue, and I hope everyone here has a good weekend.
Thanks, Nada. You too, man. Yeah, I
have something to say. I just wanted to emphasize again that, like, the idea of even starting a DAO is pretty abstract, right? And like, we're fairly early in this space. There's not a lot of people we can look to give us answers of what it means to start a DAO and how to organize a DAO and how to just, like, snap our fingers and have all these things figured out. There's a lot that we don't know as core team members. There's a lot we don't know as DAO members in general. And so I just really want to encourage people to get involved in guilds, get involved in being a community member with other guild or other members of the DAO, and just get to know each other and build things and really insert yourself and your personality in this. We don't have answers to a lot of questions, and you can help us figure that out by becoming involved. So just really want to encourage that. Like, this is a very open community. That's one of my favorite parts about being a part of this, is that there are so many people who want to explore these things with others and want to listen to the input of others. So, please have the courage to step up. And if there's anything we can do to help make things more comfortable for you to be able to do that, please don't hesitate to reach out. We really want everyone to be involved if they really want to be.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the sentiment. I don't think you should look to any guild leader as the one who has all the answers. Maybe better to think of any of us as project managers that are trying to set up some good guardrails so that productive conversations can happen. So the answers, when they come, are likely to come from, or they're as likely to come from you as they are from any of us. So please play that role. Oh, while I still have the stage.
And I just wanted to, sorry.
Sorry. Okay, fine. I'll give up.
It's very important because well, there is a structure right now, but it can change. It can change based on what you proposed, what you pitch, why the ideas that you pitch, the proposals that you make. This is all flowing. Nothing is static, and we need you to give ideas, to propose, and to help us define how this thing is going to work.
I just wanted to basically echo what everybody said and just remind people that it's also it will also be good if we could also consider what internal guild teams or structures you would need to set up and just drive ownership of the internal guild structures, because that's also something that I expect will look different for various teams, and so I just want to encourage everybody to also think within the context of how do we build up our guild in a way that would actually grow, and while leaving room for everybody else to come in and find their place.
Yeah, and like just following on from all of that, like if anyone has feedback about anything that they're not comfortable sharing publicly, then you can always message us directly. Michelle, very, very kindly, who's had a lot of experience setting up communities in the past, put her hand up to create a feedback system for us as well. So ideally, conversations happen in public as much as possible, but if there's anything that you want to say that you're not comfortable saying, or you're unsure of where to say it, then you can always fill out those forms, and everything that comes back once those forms are out there will be looked at and responded to. There will be the option to do that anonymously as well. So that can be for feedback on how you think things are going, or feedback if something's happened that you're not comfortable with. We want to make sure that as this evolves, like it evolves based on how the community wants it to evolve, and kind of what makes sense for us as a collective. The initial structure is just there, I think, as Mark said, to give us some guardrails, some guide rails, and kind of get some simple organisation in place so we can kind of start moving forward a bit more quickly and kind of sensibly, and have that kind of structure there. Well, I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything, but we had project updates to do, but I'm sure if we take some questions from the community now, we obviously don't want to go on all evening, but we do want to have an open space for people to ask questions now if they want to. What do we think about questions now or project updates first? How do we feel?
See, I would vote for more questions just so that we could hear what people are saying, actually thinking about, because I guess we've been talking for a while.
Yeah.
Question.
Okay. So if anyone has a question, you should be able to see a raise hand button. So we'll go in order of where people are showing up. So I think the first person on there was DeFi Spartan. Welcome. And what's your question?
Okay. So this is fantastic. Like, this is so exciting, all of the different things that are happening with these guilds. Just some background, I'm a software developer at Aave. And so, I've kind of seen firsthand what it takes to build a DAO. And I think you guys are doing everything the right way. Like, it is just so exciting to see the emphasis on community engagement. And I think really the biggest strength of this DAO is that everybody sort of has this core mission that we're building towards. And just seeing the engagement on like the snapshot votes, because as Nader said earlier, 2 to 3% is really big engagement for some of these big DeFi projects. And the fact that you're seeing 20% on a snapshot vote, and that we have 200 plus people, over an hour into a community call, like that is absolutely incredible. And just kind of what I wanted to contribute is that, I think one way that we could sort of capitalize on these strengths is some sort of like ambassador program. So sort of what Nader was doing, where he's minting these developer tokens and trying to get them out to people who really want to join. I think that is one way that you can really grow this DAO, because we really want to not only have these tokens minted, but get them into hands of people that really want to use them and contribute to this DAO. And so I think either creating like a Discord channel or some other way of just rewarding like ambassadors that bring people in and are giving out these tokens to active developers. I think that could be really cool. So I guess, well, what are your guys' thoughts on, doing something for ambassadors?
Yeah, sure. I can take this one a little bit. I think Nader probably has a lot of opinions on this, and I'm sure this is like something that's going to be top of mind. But if you are a person that is interested in doing things like that, where you can go out to these communities that you are a part of and network with them and create collaborations or sponsorships, whatever it may be, with these other communities, I would say that fits within our current like marketing biz dev structure, and really that's an excellent idea. And if you are in any communities that you think are like good in the developer DAO, and there's some sort of synergy there, that's definitely something that should be explored. And we haven't talked about contributions, but whenever that ends up coming into play, it'll be things like that, where it's clear action was taken and clear value was given back to the community, and things like that are what we really want to encourage. As far as like spearheading different projects, we with Hart mentioned earlier that we like the core members are not the bosses of anything. They're just kind of organizing it, and they stepped up and started putting these structures in place. But I know firsthand, as like having done a project in the DAO recently, that if you get going, like this community is so supportive, and they're going to help you with whatever it is. So honestly, if you have any ideas, throw it out there, start making moves, and you'll be really surprised and encouraged by all the people that end up rallying behind you and supporting your efforts.
Guys, super helpful.
DeFi Spartan, I don't know if you like being called that, or if you've got a name that you prefer being called, but yeah, I think people like yourself who have experience of being in those other organizations that can give a different perspective is really, really valuable as well. So I think that was a pertinent question, and it's nice to know that the community seems to be coming across well and doing well, kind of in comparison to some of the kind of organisations that are out there. So if you've got any other sort of meat around those ideas that you'd want to contribute in, like we definitely want to be hearing those. But I think that was an excellent question. Thank you very much. I think Manny was next in the list. Do you want to unmute yourself? Welcome up, Manny, and go for it.
Yeah, I got a few questions, but I'll try to pace myself. I think the first question I'll try to stick towards guilds to begin with, and then you'll let me know if I can broaden it to other topics. My first question is, how are the guilds managing cross collaboration as a start, and how is communication being managed for the different guilds, like town halls, newsletters, YouTube video recaps, just as an overall communication point?
So that's a really good question. The cross collaboration, excuse me, not an entirely solved problem at the moment. In fact, a problem that absolutely needs to be solved. In terms of updates to the community, I think once the guilds are in place, the updates will probably flow from guilds rather than necessarily from projects. At least that's kind of how I envisage it, just because there's a natural funnel of information up into the community that's easier to distribute. We could have lots and lots of projects going on, and trying to take updates from every single project every time we have these kind of sessions could get quite difficult. Updates generally, the newsletter is being spun up by Camo. Chiron, I think, is the other name. If people could at them, they deserve the recognition. They picked this up themselves and moved along with it. And I think Fig is the other name, but I'm not sure. So we're trying to get in place some asynchronous updates as well. But certainly around sort of project organization, that's a problem we need to tackle in season 0.
Yeah, I don't know if Chiron is around. Fig had to go, but I can speak a little bit since I've been talking with them. But I think that's the main source, maybe not for like cross collaboration. I think that'll probably happen a lot just between guilds, since they're not like gated communities or anything. We can just go back and forth and talk. Maybe it'll happen between different project leaders will interface and then, trickle their knowledge down. But I think their idea, at least for the newsletter, is to keep everyone in the loop of like the goings on. So whether these kind of like project updates that we have typically been doing in town halls may be kind of moved over to the newsletter, and so that'll give all of us a chance to keep like a high level abreast of what's going on. Because unless you're doing this like for 3 hours a day trying to keep up with the Discord, I understand it's a lot. It's a lot to keep up with, whether it's just the one project that you're doing or if you're trying to also talk with people in the community. So I think that's their main goal for the newsletter. And I remember they were talking about potentially the 20th or the 21st for the first one. I don't want to speak for them on that, but also big shout outs to both Chiron and Fig have been doing a lot of work around there. So I'll go ahead and drop their handles there in the chat. But yeah, so they're not here. I won't speak to deadlines, but definitely if you feel overwhelmed by the current amount of information, that is something that we are, okay, thank you so much. And Camo. See, you can already tell there's too much information. I don't even know everyone that's working on the project. But so if you feel that way about that too, just know that you can definitely help make that a little bit easier to disperse all this information to everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that update. What was the next question?
Do you mind if I ask a couple more? I'll try not to take up too much time.
Yeah. I definitely want to be sensitive of everybody's time, but sure.
So you mentioned something that was kind of interesting on the topic of overworkedness. Has there been given thought in terms of guild leaders, what the process is if somebody becomes overwhelmed and has to step down, yet they might be a major key holder or a blocker for how projects are led, and basically, it's I forget what the metaphor is, the hit by a bus metaphor is like if somebody left, it's like how would that be handled internally, basically?
Yeah, no, I can speak to that on the governance bit a little bit. The answer is like we don't have a clear path for that now, but we know that that's like one of the first things we want to do is like figure out a way for all of like the leadership stuff and whatnot to be a like DAO decision, and something that we can vote on and different things like that. So it's not something that I think that we're like massively concerned with because everything is just such community driven right now. So we would like have people to step up, if that makes sense. But it's something that like we'll dive into with the governance.
Yeah, anything that's like there's nothing in place that can't continue without someone that's here not being here. So it might be difficult or challenging to kind of reorganize some time and some responsibility, but nothing that we will do. There won't be any single points of failure. To make sure that doesn't happen. But that said, there's a lot of stuff around that kind of process to figure out during season 0.
And one of the things that I think we all are trying to do is include more people in leadership positions because there is too much work to be done. So hopefully the idea is that we can achieve that before one of us has to step back.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully with the guilds and will allow those people to kind of naturally find their path and realize that they want to contribute at a high level and be able to kind of identify individuals that want to take on that more responsibility. Like the people that have been given that responsibility now have really only been given it because they took it upon themselves to take on some responsibility in the areas where they were. And that's kind of how we see it evolving, right? This isn't the core team or anything or any leadership. It's not a walled garden. It's just here so we can get moving, and we want to allow the community to find their place over time, and we can start figuring out what roles those people can play and how they can sort of play a higher level or a high level of contribution or taken on some leadership in different areas of the DAO as well.
Yeah, Manny, what was your last question?
I actually got 3 more, but maybe we can circle back to me.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure who was next, but Ryan, if you want to go, just because I've got you in the top left, so you're first as far as my eye goes. Welcome up.
Kempster. Real quick, I just want to say 2 things. One, I just wanted to thank you, Mark, and Nader. I had a compromised wallet last week and got Nader sent over a free token so I could get back into the server. And y'all were super supportive, and I really appreciate it. And on that note, I just want to say, like, there was a discussion earlier in general about this question. We talked about it a little bit last week. But so now I have 2 tokens, and my plan is to donate one of the tokens to someone who can't pay the gas fee for whatever reason. So I just wanted to encourage other folks who may be holding more than one of the NFTs. I don't necessarily think there's a value in having more than one. All it seems to really do is stop other people from joining, and want this to be as open as possible to people who want to be part of it. And that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. Ryan, have you got an idea of how you want to donate that token that we can help with?
I don't have one right now. The only idea I have is I'd love to send it when gas fees aren't super high, as I'm sure everybody understands. But I'm happy to discuss with any of y'all how best to facilitate that. I was thinking probably via Twitter, and maybe we can retweet my tweet or whatever. We can tweet it from DevDAO directly. However, we can get someone, because I know especially if maybe you're not in a country that has USD, so the gas fees with the exchange rate is even worse for you. I don't like the idea that it's super limiting. I understand we don't want to have every person in the world joining the server, but I just want to make sure we're cognizant of the fact that some of us are in a privileged position to be able to join in the first place.
Yeah, for sure, man. Any of those things are fine, right? So if you want to think of one, or if maybe you can't think of how you want to do it and you want to throw it over, then crack on. But awesome thing to offer out to do, and I'm glad we didn't lose you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I'm not sure who's next, but next in my view is Carlitos. Welcome up if you want to ask.
Yes, hi. Thank you. By the way, yeah, I do have 2 NFTs, 2 tokens, and I can give out one of them. I'll reach out to you personally to see how we go about doing that. One thing that I've been very active participating in one of the channels is the tokens, and there's concerns in the community about the legal aspects of launching a DAO and specifically managing the launch of a token and so on. There's this developer who spoke earlier today and said he was a member of the DAO. Aave, I believe is the name. I would like to know if it's possible that, if we can speak with anyone that was involved with the legal, aspects of launching the DAO, the Aave DAO. It would be great if leadership can speak with the leadership at Aave and ask a few things around, because I guess we're we're going to do this soon. And
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say, I think that might be a great conversation to like tackle right away in the governance DAO. I think like that is absolutely the like right place for that conversation to happen.
Part of the part of the idea of bringing in advisors is specifically so we can address those tackles as well. So we're not going to be going about it like completely carefree or completely gung ho. So Nader spoke earlier to bringing in Cooper, who's already given some advice in that area, and one of those pieces of advice was also to seek someone similar to himself, but on the legal side as well. But any input that we can get from people that have been in this process before is really, really useful. And I think Will's right. Like, probably makes sense for that conversation to happen within the governance guild, but it's also a delicate thing to balance. Like, a whole guild or a whole massive group of people can't have that conversation with any legal representative, right? So we will be bringing that knowledge in and getting advice on that for sure. But anything that extra that people can feed in or any introductions that people can do is going to be really, really valuable to help inform that process.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in and say that our Aave General Counsel, Rebecca, I'm sure she would absolutely love to come in and just give a talk about decentralization and setting up DAOs. And, you know, sure, this would apply mostly to the governance section, but I think even just having a general talk to all developers is extremely helpful, because she gives talks to us all of the time about what it means to be contributing to a DAO. Because even though, you know, the decisions that the DAO makes kind of supersede what any individual developer will contribute, you know, the things that you do as a developer really do have a legal impact when it comes to, you know, making a decentralized entity. And so, yeah, absolutely, I will follow up with her and see if she'd be willing to give a talk here about decentralization, because it is an extremely important topic.
Nice. One last thing I just wanted to add. If there are any other, I guess the more DAO members that know about all these things, you know, that can contribute and talk about their experience and stuff like that, and specifically about the legal aspects, maybe they should reach out to leadership here and personally, and perhaps you know, organize a talk with some of the leadership in the other DAOs. That would be great.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. It's a difficult question that we need to address and we need to answer. Maybe we should make a point to make an announcement about the intention on that very, very soon. There has been some discussions going on, but about how we manage that in terms of the token issue and any potential illegal structure, depending on how the token issue works. But it's quite a big can of worms. So everyone needs to know about it, because if they're involved, they absolutely should understand what the setup is. So maybe we should bookmark that, and next time we speak, give an update on where we're up to specifically around that, and then maybe open up a conversation about people's feelings about that as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, so big shout out to DeFi Spartan for hooking up that general counsel link, and I just wanted to point out that some of these are governance considerations, and I think, well, this is more of a question to Will. If it is you wanna, if anybody has any kind of thoughts or stuff like that, that they could probably reach out to Will and direct some of those conversations towards the governance guild, because I think we would have a number of people in here who have different kinds of experience and different kind of contacts and all those things, and I think us centering the conversation around the governance guild and Will in particular, I think would be a good starting.
Yeah, Tony, appreciate that 100%. Like we were saying in the chat earlier, like my role is just to help like bring information together, and so I can help just like take that influx of maybe we've got this person and that person and this opportunity. So more than happy to help with that. like I said, we're going to have a public governance channel that's launching immediately after this. So even if you don't join the governance guild, you could still push that in that spot. So a great place to start.
Yeah, Rebecca sounds like someone that could give us some really useful information. DeFi Spartan as well. So, yeah, echoing what Tony said, really appreciate that as a hopefully a potential connection to get some more insight. So maybe if you connect with Will or us afterwards, we can maybe figure out how to make that happen. We're 90 minutes in, so we'll try and get through the questions that we have left now. So if you could just try and be cautious of time. Next in my view is, I'm not sure if you were actually next, but next in my view is Nob. Welcome up if you want to ask a question.
Hey, yes. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Awesome stuff, gang. Really excited for what's going on. My question was around as we move forward and we get more and more awesome developers in, all these developers are going to have, and maybe non-developers too, are going to have these really awesome projects that are out there. And just want to know, is there like a process we have in mind to potentially bring those projects into some guild inside, or is it too early to kind of go down those lines?
So I think it's a really good question. It's something that we need to address in Season 0. I think ultimately there needs to be some distinction between what's a project of the DAO and what's a project that's built by people in the DAO. And the DAO, in my view at least, will support those projects as much as possible. And then we'll choose as a community projects that we maybe elevate in terms of becoming a quote-unquote official, or whatever that means, project in the DAO. I think we need to be careful about how many things we try and tackle in one go, because if we try to do too much, we may find that it becomes very, very difficult to actually get that far with those things. But it's a really pressing question for Season 0 Nob that we need to address. But that's kind of my view on where we're at with that, and maybe how we'll look at it in Season 0. I don't know if anyone's got any other thoughts.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, totally makes sense. I guess it's another one of those things that we'll figure out as we go. But sweet, great to hear.
Yeah, exactly. There's lots to figure out in Season 0, and it sucks that that's kind of a lot of the times the default answer to questions, but it's called Foundations for a reason, right? So hopefully we can, all of these things that are bringing up are really like pertinent and valuable questions, and then we need to get on to tackling these in Season 0. But Dawat, if you want to unmute and welcome up to the stage and ask your question.
Sure. So my question was related to entry to the DAO, basically. So at this pace, I think we are soon going to hit the limit of 8,000 dev tokens, the Genesis NFT. So I was wondering, once we hit that mark, would that mean that no one will be able to join the DAO after that, or do we have any other plans? I was just curious.
Yeah, so again, good question. I think once the tokens are out, in terms of the current, are all minted and the supply is gone, in terms of the current setup, there's no other way to join the DAO. Our intention as a community should be to address that problem alongside the launch of the token, the governance token, the ERC20 token that's associated with the DAO, and then build in other pathways into the community. Hopefully more inclusive pathways into the community as well. But once that token's gone, no one will be able to join until we have solved that follow-on problem, which will likely be, as I said, connected to the governance token and ownership of a certain threshold of that governance token. And then hopefully we can build mechanisms to make it more inclusive journeys into the DAO. But again, there is a need to have some path like that where people have skin in the game to join, because if we just kept allowing people in forever, then it would be very difficult for us to remain focused and build things together. But we will be addressing that. But yeah, as the ERC 721 runs out of supply, then there won't be anywhere to join until we've launched the governance token.
Yeah, we can't let everyone in because I believe that one of the reasons why this Discord is so good and we haven't encountered anything bad up till now is because it's not very easy to get in, and if we like just open it up to everyone and anyone can join, it could like harm the current setup or current work that we have done. So yeah, I just wanted to point this out, and maybe yeah, sure, we need to work on this in the future.
Yeah, and as we figure it out, like we'll definitely be looking for the community to think through ideas of how we can build those pathways into the community post the governance token launch as well. Like there's probably quite a few interesting things we can do around bounties, potentially sponsorships, maybe even like apprenticeships. There's loads of like really cool stuff that we can do, which can still have that threshold of interest and engagement to want to join, but make it more inclusive as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be a super interesting problem to solve around the launch of the governance token as well.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks.
Cool. So Manny, I love you, but you have already...
No. These ones are really good though.
Yeah,
they're really good.
One more, and then I think we need to move on because we're coming up on 2 hours.
Okay, so this one is kind of related to my second question, still regardless. ENS delegation, what does that mean going forward? And is there transparency currently as to who controls it in terms of how things, like what does that mean essentially going forward with Developer DAO?
Mark? You still with us? Yeah.
Yeah. The answer is it's to be decided. I think ultimately the way I envision this working is that any proposal up for vote in the ENS DAO potentially gets echoed within our snapshot, as an example. So we could have a snapshot vote within our community about how we want to vote in this ENS proposal. I think that's the most straightforward answer I can give. Does that sit all right?
Well, how do you account for somebody just going completely the opposite way and saying, no, I don't like how the community is, if there's only a single point of voting, right?
A community member that wants to not go with the delegate choice?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you can withdraw your delegate votes at any point within the ENS DAO.
Yep, and big kind of governance processes like ENS is using, like there is like a week-long time limit usually to like make sure you're happy with how your delegate is voting and whatnot. But I think at the same time we want to decentralize like everything as much as possible.
Got it. Sounds good then. Thanks for answering my question.
Cheers, Manny. Right, so I think that was really, really good session. If people do still have other pertinent questions, like drop them into Discord, message us directly if you're not comfortable asking them publicly, but we would prefer where possible to have those questions asked and answered in public so everyone can benefit from them. But I think that was a really valuable session, and personally I'm very excited about what's going to happen in the next sort of 2 to 3 months. And yeah, thanks everyone for contributions so far, and welcome to the community if you're new. Like, it's looking really exciting over the next sort of several months for sure. So the last thing that we need to do, we normally do this earlier on, but Nader was in a little bit of a rush, so we kind of flipped it on its head, and obviously Season 0 was a big moment for us as a community. But to give an update to those who maybe aren't aware of some projects that are happening around the community at the moment, we'll kind of bring everyone up, or a person up from those projects, to just give an update on kind of where things are at. So we may as well start with the website team, because we have the lovely Wivhart up here already. Can you give us an update on where we stand?
Sure. Didn't actually plan to talk about this. So the update that we have is that we are very close to emerging a PR, which will give us a new landing page that actually includes details about the DAO itself, how to join, basically giving us a little more what we expect from a landing page for a DAO, right? The other thing that's included in that is that we're going to be transferring ownership of the website from being a developer-led project to being a design and marketing biz dev project. We want to really nail down the branding and make sure that the site is accessible, includes all of the information we want to broadcast to the public, and things like that. So we're going to be moving that to be led by designers and the marketing team so they can kind of get their priorities in place, and then developers can assist in actually making that happen. Yeah, I think those are the two big things.
Cool. Awesome, dude. Thanks. Noah, you wanted to go next. I think you've got a jet in a sec.
Yeah, so really quick, this will be an update on the Discord bot. It's kind of been a collaboration with Nathan on the resource space and Greg that's also working on the resource space to make this Discord bot that will allow us to add resources and contributors from here in the Discord. Big shout out to obviously the Greg and Nathan that I mentioned, but also I'm trying to find their handles as I'm talking here. But Aiden is A. Montgomery and Camila, as well as Daiwat, all did a lot of work on this. Like I really just started it and was like, hey, here's a bot, and they were immediately, I had PRs, and suddenly I was the bottleneck being like the PM for this repo that was just like 2 days old. So it was really awesome to see everyone in the community really gather around this and do a lot of work around it. So big shout out to those two, did a lot of code in that, and I just merged that in. So in the next couple of days, this should actually be live here in the Discord, and it'll allow anyone to add stuff to the resource base as well as add themselves to a contributor. There's a big Airtable for anyone that hasn't been keeping up with the resource base, essentially, that will allow us to curate all of this content and maybe start integrating it in the website. And yeah, big shout out to them, and should be live in the next couple days.
Thanks, Noah. Are you going to give a little info on the newsletter as well? Or I don't think Camo or Chiron will figure here.
Yeah, I think I spoke enough to that earlier, given that we're at 2 hours, just that'll be a way for everyone to keep abreast of what's going around in the Discord, and I think that they are shooting for the 20th or 21st. And so go to the newsletter channel, and I want to say it's the pinned comment if you want to put your email in to get that newsletter whenever it comes out.
Yeah.
And I do have to jet now. It is wonderful. I love you all. You are wonderful. And I will catch y'all in the next one. And yeah, bye y'all.
Thanks, Noah. Have a good weekend. Yeah, I don't know what's been pasted in the developer's voice text, but if you want to sign up to the newsletter, go here and drop in your email. And Camo, who's just said bye above, Chiron and a couple of others will be getting some information out starting next weekend, I believe. So next on the list for the projects is derivatives. Hopefully Zulu is still here. I appreciate we're 2 hours in. Just scrolling around trying to see. Yes, there we are, dude.
Yeah, and if we don't mind just trying to be kind of quick with the updates. I know a lot of people have to get back to work eventually.
Yeah, hello. Can everybody hear me?
We got you, mate.
Yeah, okay. So we just be very quick. Pretty much the smart contract for derivatives in the background, headed by Ether Insight, is more or less ready, and I think everybody's quite comfortable with it. We are also, I think, got a spear, kind of a good progress for the front end minting with contribution from LX245, who just recently joined to help us with just I believe it's with MetaMask straightforward minting process that is picking up from what Rasmussen have done. Also, we actually have two different ways for the front end in terms of approach. So one way was just normal MetaMask, and the other one is using Wallet Connect with Moralis, which is the part which I'm actually directly involved building that as well. There was a lot of talk about, obviously, about the funding, which we can probably clear up later on offline. And also we also needing some guidelines about how to go forward in terms of the in terms of where to actually deploy. So we were wondering whether that's probably a governance maybe kind of thing, or something that we need to get a little bit votes from other people, or whether that's something that we can just go ahead. So that kind of guidelines about decision making that we have to do. But I think in terms of tech, we are ready to deploy on either one of the mainnet or the Matic platform. We also, everybody's getting a bit kind of running on the spot kind of thing and eager to do more stuff. So we are progressing a bit further now with some talks and kind of conceptual thing about game that will be using the derivatives going forward. So a lot of people are excited to sort of take the derivatives to kind of to the next level. So right now we just getting I think Eric and Joe is helping out with a little bit of just conceptual beginning kind of side views for us to for me to actually to come up with some reference implementation, a code where people can just pick up and then start if they want to try to contribute and create some kind of games from there. So we do need I think resource wise we do need a few game developers. If there's any out there, or anybody who is available to do some game development coding, just reach out to us at the derivatives. I think that's all.
Cool. Thanks, Zulu. Yeah, it's great work in that team creating the first derivative project of our Genesis NFT. I think most people have probably already seen it, but with Heart shared a link into the chat. But all of those questions, Zulu, hit me up afterwards, and we can anything that you need help with, we can get sorted. I'm sure pretty quick. Next up, quickly is, and I'm just trying to find the wiki. So I don't know if Nathan is still knocking about. If he wants to give a quick update of where we got on the wiki. He may not be here.
He's popping in.
Here he is. Ooh. Looks like he might not be working. Okay. Is he here? Here we go. Hey, man.
Sorry about that. Okay, cool. Hey, everyone. So we are working on an updated version of the Developer DAO Wiki. So we're hoping that this is sort of a nice place for people to learn about what's happening in the DAO, what the DAO is all about, and various resources that we have on the DAO. The structure is being updated slowly to include all of the guilds, as well as we're going to be writing an article on, how to join a guild and what does that mean and things like that as well. Kemp already posted a link to the wiki, so thank you for that. We are looking for more contributors, people who might want to write more content. We'll probably start coordinating more stuff next week about everything else that might need to be included in the wiki. But hopefully this is a good start and will really help us to coordinate a lot of the questions that happen within the DAO, especially for a lot of the people who are joining us. Things like onboarding, things like how to use Discord. We have lots of ideas about, okay, maybe we should do a video on how to use Discord, because there's a lot of people it's their first time using Discord and things like that. So lots of things on the go. Hopefully the wiki will be a good resource for that And if you have any questions, my name is Nathan. I sit in the DAO Wiki channel, but I think this will be situated in the community guild as well. So yeah, definitely reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Really important piece of our infrastructure. That it seems simple, but having a self-service way that people can discover the DAO and find their way around I think is going to be key, particularly for onboarding new people. So thanks a lot to Nathan for getting that off the ground. Noah alluded to the resource base earlier as well. I'll just mention it really, really quickly. We shared a link earlier. All we're trying to do is gather all the learning resources that are being shared around the DAO. And we're gathering that into an Airtable, which basically is a Postgres database with a UI. And then Noah's building a resource bot to allow us to add that in. So if you've got learning resources that you're sharing around the community, if you can try and remember to, once the bot goes live, to add them into this resource base, then that would be fantastic. So we can sort of gather those resources and share them in a way where they're just more discoverable for people that come after us, either in or outside the DAO. And there's lots of potential applications we could build on top of that, but for now, it gives us a way to organize all of the awesome learning resources that are being shared amongst our community members. So it's a nice public good for us to create quite early on. Greg or Keratos in the server is also working on a way to automatically build out a Markdown repo on GitHub to share those resources kind of in developers' natural habitat, which I think is ticking along nicely. And hopefully we can get those things rolled out in the coming sort of week or so, both the bot and the repo. But yeah, I think that's right on 2 hours. So a lot has been discussed today. We will be sharing notes and a recording of this should you want to come back and have a look. I personally am really excited about the future for Developer DAO. I think a lot of the stuff that's been announced today really hopefully gets people excited. Partnership with Gitcoin, potential initial funding, bringing in advisors like Cooper and potentially some others, and just more importantly, how much people seem to be enjoying this community, even when we're so early on, and there's quite frankly not that huge amount of organization. But I think certainly for myself and for sort of looking at how other people seem to be enjoying this space, I think it's pretty incredible where we are sort of 2 months in. So thanks everyone for attending today. I don't know if anyone else wanted to say anything, sort of closing words before we end for the day.
Well, let me just say, I just made the Guild Select channel public. I was going to ask to make sure it's public, but I see like a ton of people reacting to the emojis. So it seems to be working. Awesome. Probably going to have some bumps along the way. So if something's not working, just shoot me a message, tag me. But as you interact with these emojis, you should start seeing the channels down at the bottom, like I said, of the Discord. So if that's not working, let me know and we'll get it fixed. Anybody else?
I was struggling to find the stage channel again so I could unmute. But yeah, no, that's great. Well, I'm right in thinking that people shouldn't really expect anything, right? Just allocate yourself to a guild and then the guild leaders will follow up in the next few days.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great last point to summarize. We're all doing this together, learning it together. Like I had mentioned in chat earlier, go back to the proposal that's on our forum. You get there from the snapshot as well and see what those goals are for each of the guilds. And that's kind of one of the first things we'll be working on. But a lot of work's going to be done over the next week to get the channels looking nice, to get the governance pieces ready. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But this is awesome. I mean, we had over 600 votes. We had over 300 people in the middle of a work day join this stuff. I just have never been so excited and bullish and pumped up about what this community is doing, and really found a home in Web3. So pretty awesome.
Cool, awesome. Thanks everybody. Have an amazing weekend. I look forward to seeing you all in the server. And yeah, thanks for everything so far, and definitely looking forward to the future. We are going to make it. Much love.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, y'all.